Hey, thanks for stopping by for the No BS social media chat. Last week we were talking about having people there to help. Another situation that comes up constantly that people ask me about is about social media automation, about using tools to help automate the social media process. And I have a love-hate relationship with the automation process. And we've talked about it and touched on it time and time, but I don't know if I really devoted an entire No BS social media chat to it. But automation becomes the necessary evil the more active you get. We talk about automation whenever I talk with a client because the one thing is that they want to just set it and forget it. And I said, well, while you sometimes can set it, you can't forget it. You've got to see how things perform. You've got to, well, it takes a lot to feed that beast. So while I'm not the biggest fan of social media automation, I understand why it's necessary. And I try to advise people to do a little bit of automated and a little bit of live and real. As I often tell people, leave the marketing hype, leave the hype messages to the automation, and leave the personal interaction to real time. It's funny, each social media site handles automation in a different way. Like with YouTube, let's say I cut many of these videos at one time, 2, 3, maybe sometimes 4 at one time, and I load them all up and I schedule them ahead of time so they launch on their normal Monday morning. I guess that's a form of automation. And while you could say, well, shouldn't I be more timely? Shouldn't I just do it the night before? That always doesn't work in my schedule. And at the same time, some of the topics we're talking about, like social media automation, is there really anything timely about it? Now, I'll be honest, I can sometimes send something in the automation process on YouTube and then delay it and move it to a later time because it's not necessarily time sensitive. If there's something more time sensitive, I'll launch into that. Twitter is probably the perfect site for automation because it really doesn't penalize you for automating anything. I use the most of my automation that I use for my business and just more to continually brand the message of what we do, of what I do, or what Intensity Media, my company, does, to talk about the social media, to talk about the No BS videos and things like that, to continually remind people, because I'm sometimes posting 5, 6 times a day. Automation-wise, I'm posting 4 things a day, every day of the year, but then I personally add individual things in on a regular basis, and I schedule them around them. That way, it looks live. I have intricate schedules of when they post and when they happen, so things aren't just popping up same message all the time over and over and over again. So while I don't mind using it on Twitter, I've found that using automation on Facebook isn't always the best thing. Now, you can pre-schedule things on Facebook fan pages. You can't have a personal profile, but you can schedule things ahead of time on fan pages. So a lot of times when I post these videos on Facebook, they are scheduled ahead of time to launch when I want them to launch. But I think it's important to know that if you use a tool like a Buffer or a Hootsuite or a TweetDeck or any of those automation tools that are really popular, you get penalized on Facebook. You're already getting penalized to begin with just by not buying placement, just by not buying advertising. So anytime you use a tool like a Hootsuite, which I've used, and Buffer, which I've used, or even TweetDeck, which I've used, you're going to get penalized on Facebook. So if at all cost, avoid those kind of things on Facebook, because you're already posting something on Facebook with one arm tied behind your back. Oftentimes, and I've seen the engagement levels go down to just minimal, horrible levels. If it's just about filling a timeline, then fine. If you're really worried about getting it to somebody, you're better to post in real time if at all possible. Instagram, which is the other one of our main 4 sites, is a site that you really can't do any kind of automation, although I know in the Hootsuite package, you can actually set things up, and what it will do is it will send you an email message to say, hey, you've got a post going. In order to put it on Instagram, you have to hit it and post it live now. So it's almost like a reminder focus, so you can set it ahead of time, and then it's just one click. Still a little bit of a hassle. I found it's easier just to go in and do things in Instagram when it works best for you. And again, Instagram is one of those things, it's almost spur of the moment too. It's almost like being in the moment. You get the best bang for your buck out of Instagram. So while it's a necessary evil, you really have to play with automation. You really have to tweak automation and to know when it's going to work best for you and work into your best interest. Using social media automation tools just for the sake of being omnipresent, for being there all the time, well, I'll tell you what, each and every circumstance is different. Each and every situation is different. I guess the more fans you have, it doesn't matter as much, but if you're really trying to build your brand, build your personal brand or your business brand, and you're trying to build your engagement levels, the less automation you can do, the better off. It's complicated, I know, and we can't just describe it in a 5-minute video. If you want to talk more about it, again, free of charge, reach out. My phone number's coming up at the end of the video. My email's coming up. We can talk, we can chat, we can email, go back and forth, and I can kind of try to help you fit an automation schedule that works best for you and give you some automation tips too, if that's the route you want to go. It's one of those things, sometimes we just got to do what we got to do to get the job done, and automation is sadly one of those things. Back next week with another No BS social media chat. NoBSSocial.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, post them up there as well. Again, wherever you found us this week, come on back next week. As I promised, my email, my phone number, coming up next at the end of the video. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.